Here's what most people get wrong about choosing a shipping carrier. They think it's about finding the cheapest rate. It's not. Because especially in cross-border shipping, the wrong carrier doesn't just cost you a few extra dollars. It can delay your shipments, break your customs clearance, and create a terrible experience for your customer. And the reality today is this: what used to work even a year ago just does not work anymore. Those low-value shipments don't just glide across the border like they used to. Now, almost every shipment requires proper classification, documentation, and clearance. So now carrier selection matters more than ever. Today, I'm going to show you how to actually think about choosing between international shipping companies. So you're not just comparing rates, you're building a system that actually works for you and for your customers. Hey, I'm Tony from ShipSavvy. We help Canadian businesses ship across the border into the US, and we work with pretty much every major carrier: UPS, FedEx, Purelator, postal networks, and a growing set of regional last mile providers like Uni. So we've seen where each carrier works and where they break. And what I can tell you is this: the businesses that get cross-border shipping right aren't the ones who found the best carrier. They're the ones who understand which carrier works for each situation, how shipments actually clear the border, and how to control the customer experience from end to end. So today, I'll break that down: how to actually evaluate carriers, what factors matter the most and what doesn't, and how to build a carrier strategy that scales with your business. Section 1, the strategic framework. Why best carrier is the wrong question. The question I get all the time is, which shipping company should I use? It's the wrong question. The right question is, which carrier should I use for this shipment to this destination for this customer? Because there is no best carrier. There's only the best carrier for a specific situation. And this matters even more for cross-border, because the wrong carrier doesn't just mean higher cost. It can break how your shipment clears customs and how your customer experiences delivery overall. When evaluating carriers, there are really 4 things that matter. First, cost. What do you actually pay? Not the list rates, but the real all-in cost, including surcharges, overages, and any of those other fees that might show up. 2, speed. How fast does it get there? And how consistent is that speed? And do you need to pay for it to go that fast? Or can you save some money by going with a more efficient option? 3, reliability. Does it show up intact? Does the tracking work? Will your customer love the experience that they get? 4, capability. Can the carrier actually handle your shipment? Is it oversized? Is it too long? Can they do the job? Everything else, brand perception, marketing, what your friend says is best, that's all noise. The hidden factor: cross-border clearance. Now, here's the one most people miss: how your shipment actually clears the border. Not all carriers handle customs the same way. Some handle clearance in-house, others hand off to third-party brokers. Some are strong with standard goods, others struggle with regulated products. And this is where businesses get into trouble. The carrier looks great on paper until shipments start getting held at the border. Now, almost every cross-border shipment requires proper classification, documentation, and clearance. So you're not just choosing a carrier, you're choosing how your shipment gets into the country. And increasingly, platforms are integrating brokerage directly. So you have more control over that process instead of just relying on whatever the carrier assigns. Section 2, evaluating the major carriers. How to think about carrier performance. What matters isn't what each carrier says they're good at, it's how they actually perform for your type of shipments. Let's look at UPS. They're the reliable workhorse. Their strengths are they're extremely reliable, they've got a great North American ground network, and they have solid brokerage and customs handling when you don't want to deal with it yourself or go through Savvy Broker. Some of their weaknesses are they can be expensive for lightweight shipments, the surcharges can add up quickly, and dimensional pricing can hurt margin if you have larger or oversized products. We find that UPS is best if you've got medium to large packages, definitely B2B shipments, and anything that has reliability-focused operations. FedEx, known for speed and flexibility. Their strengths are strong express service, good global reach, and good integration capabilities for higher volume shippers. Some of their weaknesses are known that their economy services aren't always as competitive price-wise. Dimensional pricing can be aggressive as well. Customer service can be inconsistent. They're best often for time-sensitive shipments and express-heavy businesses. So when you need to get things there very quickly, they're a great option. DHL, consider them the international specialist. DHL is still important to understand, but it's more relevant if you're shipping outside of North America. Their strengths are they've got a great global network, excellent international customs handling. So if you're going outside of the US and have some unique handling rules there, they are great for handling that. And they have reliable international routes for complex shipments that need to end up to rural or beyond point destinations. Some of their weaknesses are they have limited domestic North American coverage, so they are often a second or third choice with those shipments, and they're not typically the best fit for Canada to US e-commerce flows. What we find they're best for is international shipments beyond North America and anything complex cross-border into the harder markets. Postal networks like USPS and Canada Post. Their strengths are typically they're cheapest for lightweight shipments, and there's typically no residential delivery surcharges, and their general surcharge fees are more known and more predictable. Some of their weaknesses are they have less reliable tracking systems, their transit times can definitely be less consistent, and limited support when issues do occur. They're best for low value, lightweight shipments and cost sensitive scenarios where reliability is not the number one concern, but prices. Regional and specialty carriers. Don't overlook regional and specialty carriers. This is where a lot of the innovation is happening right now. For example, Purelator is strong for Canadian origin shipments with solid cross-border capabilities. Unity is emerging as a strong last-mile option in the US, especially for e-commerce deliveries, often with competitive pricing and strong performance in dense urban areas. And then you have platforms like ShipSavvy, which aggregate all of those carriers and give you access to negotiated rates, so you can choose the best option per shipment without manually having to compare everything. The best performing e-commerce brands aren't relying on a single carrier. They're building a network of carriers and routing intelligently based on that shipment. The comparison framework. Step 1, define your typical shipments. Pull data on your last 50 to 100 shipments. What's the average weight, dimensions, destinations? Create 3 to 5 typical shipment profiles that you see, and then those become your comparison benchmarks that you can use carrier by carrier. Step 2, get real quotes. Don't rely on public rate calculators. They don't reflect your actual costs. They don't include negotiated rates, surcharges, or how the shipment is actually going to be routed. The only numbers that matter are real all-in shipping costs, ideally from a platform that shows live rates across carriers. If you ever need help doing that, ShipSavvy can run live rates for you and give you a real analysis on a month of shipping data, show you what you would actually pay using ShipSavvy. Step 3, test the actual performance. Before committing to a carrier, send test shipments. Track the transit time versus the promise, tracking accuracy, delivery success, issue resolution. Real data beats marketing claims every time, so test those shipments. ShipSavvy has lots of customers all the time that will try us out for 5, 6 shipments before they make the big switch and integrate and turn everything on. So we're happy to help you get that set up. Step 4, evaluate cross-border specifically. This is where most comparisons fall short. Ask, how does the carrier handle customs clearance? Is the brokerage handled in-house or is it outsourced? Can they handle your specific product category? And how are the duties and taxes managed? If they can't clearly explain how your shipment gets from the origin to your customer across the border, that's a problem. Step 5, build your carrier mix. Different carriers win in different situations. The goal is not simplicity. The goal is optimization. Use multiple carriers and match each shipment to the best option. Or making the decision matrix. For each shipment, ask, can this carrier handle the product? Can they meet the delivery requirement? Of the remaining options, which is the most cost effective? Capability first, then speed, then cost. Because the cheapest option doesn't matter if it can't clear or deliver properly. When to use a single carrier. There are situations where a single carrier solution does make sense. You have highly negotiated discounts. Your operations are very simple, often with just a single SKU or a single type of profile. And you have really strong account management to stay on top of things. But even then, you should always have a backup. Carriers go on strike, weather outages happen. You should always have plans for your business. Here's some red flags to watch out for as you're making these decisions. So watch out for unclear pricing. All of those fees should be very transparent and you should be able to do test shipments and there should be no surprises. Vague customs process. It should be very clear what's happening and it should feel like you're dealing with professionals. This is not an area to cheap out. Pressure into long-term contracts. There's no reason for long-term contracts in this industry. And if we've learned anything, we realize things happen quite quickly. Poor tracking. Companies should be on top of this when they're handling cross-border and the tracking should be clear. Things happen with packages where things get lost with the carrier, but either way, it should be transparent as to what's happening with every package every time. And most importantly, if a carrier can't explain how your shipment gets from the origin across the border to your customer, that's a problem. The goal isn't to find the best carrier. It's to choose the best carrier for each shipment. So now you have a framework. Evaluate based on cost, speed, reliability, and capability. Understand how carriers actually handle the cross-border clearance and test before you scale. And if you want to simplify all of this, that's exactly what we built ShipSavvy for. You get access to multiple carriers, real-time rate shopping, and built-in customs clearance. So you're not relying on whatever broker the carrier assigns, which is where most of the inconsistency comes from in cross-border shipping. You can create a free account, test shipments, and see how it works in real life. No contracts, no commitments. And if this helped, subscribe. We're putting out more content to help Canadian businesses win in cross-border. See you in the next one.